everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and today we are heading back into Circle of Life and we are finally going to tackle our water. I've been looking forward to this since the start of this picture, so I'm super excited about today. I want to thank you all for your input under the last video regarding what colours we should use for the water, and there was an overwhelming vote for heading towards turquoise rather than blue, so I'm quite happy to go ahead with that. So I've picked out a selection of pencils. I'm not necessarily going to use all of these, but we're going to use that as a starting point, and if I add any more into the mix as we go, obviously I'll list them for you and I'll show you them in the swatch book as well. So as we have been doing in the past, we are still sticking with our Faber-Castell Polychromos, and you may or may not be surprised to find that the first pencil I have is the dark indigo. We've been using this through the whole page, and again we're going to use this for our darker areas as we go along. So I have helio turquoise, cobalt turquoise, those two are the wrong way round, come on Jem, cobalt green, and also the light cobalt turquoise. So here is our helio turquoise. Maybe zoom in a wee bit, see a bit better. So here is our helio turquoise, so it is a very, very dark turquoisey colour. We've got the cobalt turquoise next door, and then the light cobalt turquoise. And if I just slide over here, this down here is the cobalt green. Now that's just to give us a bit of variation here, because these ones are more blue than green, whereas when we start to head here, we are into more green than blue. So we can use that to our advantage. So I figured it would be a good idea just to work from the top down. So as we've talked about in previous videos as well, we've got the mountain shadow here, so this is going to be a lot darker and it's really only going to start to lighten up a little bit here, and we can pretty much do as we want. We'll use some artistic license down the bottom here and make this really bright and colourful. So we'll start with the helio turquoise, so that is the darkest of these turquoisey colours, and we're going to pop a layer of that down up the top here, just in this top section. So I mean, as I've been doing and as I tend to do with most colouring pages, I just go a little section at a time. So we'll get that first layer of pencil down in there. Now this is obviously foam of some description, and because it is further away it's going to be a bit more delicate, but we do want to remember that we've got this shadow cast down here as well. So in at the back here, I'm just going to start layering this up. So get our second layer down there, and we'll come up from the bottom here as well. Now I'm going to leave a slightly lighter patch in the middle just to depict that fold. I know it's not a fold when we're talking about water, but it kind of is. So we'll pop that in there just now. Now we may have to darken that down. As I say, we want to keep this as dark as possible. So I'm going to go straight in with my indigo pencil after that, and just following the lines that are already there. There's hatch in there, so I'm going to flick a couple of those in. And the same from the bottom here as well. Okay, so this is too light, so we go back to the helio. Again, we can just flick some lines in. Now that doesn't need to be solid colour. You know, it's good to leave a little bit of the white shown because there is going to be some movement in that water. We want to keep this really rich and quite dark. And then I'm just going to grab the straight cobalt turquoise and just using a circular motion, I'm going to fill in some of that in there. And then with the indigo, just put in a few wee spots here and there, maybe a bit darker around there. So when we move down to this section now, and you can see where, where we decided that the shadow of the trees was going to go, that's really going to be the point where it starts to get lighter, so from this point forward. So again, I'm just going to stick with the helio turquoise here, which was the darkest one. And we can pop a layer of that down in here. Now with the indigo pencil in here, we can be a bit more creative, which is exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to stop that about there. So it's a good idea at this point as well to keep your pencils quite sharp, because we do want to see that variation in the colour. So just using the indigo pencil, I'm just going to put a few lines in here and there. Now imagine it would be quite dark round here, because not only have we got the mountain shadow, but there's trees in there as well. So we may not be able to see a huge amount of this. So maybe put down a bit more indigo there and then just make it richer by going back to that dark turquoise, the helio turquoise in there. So in this back section, put in a good amount of the indigo pencil. Just layer that up there. And back in with this helio turquoise So we don't want a lot of the white of the paper showing there because there isn't going to be a lot of light reflecting off it. And the same with this section, we're just going to pick and choose where we want to put our indigo pencil down because we don't want it to be too overbearing, but I still want it to be reasonably dark. So I'm pleased to report as well that all doggies are fitting well. Everyone has recovered. Woo's ear infection has disappeared for the time being. I mentioned before it is a recurring thing with her. It's just because she's old and she's a Jack Russell. Dogs with narrow ear canals, so a lot of small breeds of dog, are very, very prone to repeated ear infections. So she's on the mend for now though. Okay, that's looking fairly good actually. Surprised myself a little bit here. Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to open it up and start to make it a lot lighter. So I'm going to put down the pencils I was using and I'm going to go for the cobalt green. And I'm just going to add some in. So I'm layering this up with the helio turquoise in this top part. And then I'm going to bring that down and just have a layer of that, a very light layer down here to the edge of our next fold in our waterfall. And then I'm going to go back and grab the helio turquoise from before. Make sure I've got a nice pointy point on the go. And then I can just start to add in some lines. And see, I'm just following the artist's lines here. I'm not making, adding anything, so to speak. And maybe make in these sort of creases at the corners. I love how I'm talking about the water like it's a bit of paper, folds and creases. But you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? It's just my way. And we can add some of these in down here as well. And then we can jump back to our cobalt green. We can go over the top of this, sort of blend it in a little bit, and then add in a little bit more colour here and there. And then we can do the same as we did before. I'm ignoring the bubbles. I can just flick up there again, doing exactly what the artist's done. I'll just flick that up the way. And maybe even take our lightest pencil, so the light cobalt turquoise. And then I'm going to go back to the helio turquoise here, just for down the bottom, because we want to get a little bit of depth in there. Really show that that water is foaming up in front. There we go. And then back to the lightest colour. And I'm just going to take away some of the white of the paper where this comes over the edge. There we go, excellent. So busy times, nearly finished harvest now, which is lovely, but more importantly, I've got something coming up that may actually interfere with my YouTube videos. I can't talk about it, and it may or may not happen, but if it does happen, I will make sure that I let you all know in advance, because it might mess up the video schedule a wee bit. So I'm quite keen to get this finished before we get to that point, because I don't think my videos are going to be out on the normal days, and I apologise for being so cryptic about it, but it all shall be clear when and if it happens. It's nothing that affects us directly, but it's just something that I've got to do. Right, for this main body of water now, and our little I was going to say blowholes. It's a blowhole. These little waterfalls here, I'm just going to use this lightest colour, and I'm just going to cover this entire area with the light cobalt turquoise. So let's just get that on the go. Yeah, so before we get to the maybe it'll happen but might not happen situation, I do have Mama and Papa Jem coming to stay for a few days, which will be nice. I haven't seen them for a wee while now. I think I want to cover the bubbles in this colour as well. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty good. So that's going to be in a week and a half, a week or two. So that will be nice. Have a bit of a giggle. Papa Jem's probably going to end up doing some work here. The boys are, well, say they're more or less finished harvest now. They've just got bales of straw to pick up from various places. And there's been a bit of a break in the weather, so that's halted for now, but that's not going to be too much of an issue. So what that means for Papa Jem is that by the time he comes up, all of the harvest machinery will probably be needing a bit of TLC. So he'll probably tinker about outside, and every time he comes, like, he's only coming for a couple of days, and we always say to him, you know, you don't have to come up to work, but he really likes working. And Mum was saying that, you know, your dad could probably do with a bit of a rest, you know, a bit of recuperation kind of thing, because my mum and dad have been busy as well doing their thing. So I said to Papa Jem, why don't you just come up and have a relaxing couple of days, and, you know, you can go and take the dogs for a wander and, you know, stuff like that, and just chill out. So the longer the conversation and the more we talked, because he kept asking what was happening with harvest and what stage the boys were at and one thing and another. And by the end of the conversation, he's saying to me, "I'll just bring my wellies and my overalls up." I'm like, right, okay, Dad. So you've just got to let him get on with it. They do say you marry people like your parents, and obviously Mr. Jem is very much a workaholic type. And my dad's exactly the same, so it's true, you do marry people like your parents. And they're thick as thieves, the two of them. See, when they get together, they're an absolute nightmare. There's no stopping them. So we'll just let them get on with it. The difference is Mr. Jem's a lot younger than my dad. So yeah, there's lots of lions. Well, when I say lions, for our equivalent of a lion, there's going to be lots of them for Mr. Jem just shortly. Yeah, he's kind of running on fumes now. I keep saying to him, the bags that are under his eyes, I could go and put my shopping in them. He looks really, really tired just now. He did get a lie in yesterday though, and he slept for a very, very long time, and I didn't disturb him, do you know, that way I was like, I'll just leave him. Then I was like, better go and check on him and, make sure that he's still breathing. So I did, and he was. But it's just because I hadn't heard any movement at all, like nothing, and I thought, oh yeah, I better go and check. But he was absolutely sound asleep, so I just left him. Getting in all these wee fiddly bits round here, round our swans. Our lily pads. So I was thinking as well about the colours, because we've got this kind of garland down the bottom, and we've got these lily pads as well. So I think for the garland, I'm going to try and incorporate some of the colours from the tent. Thought that would be quite nice. But also the colours that we use on these lily pads, I was kind of thinking like a pinky purple, which is kind of what we've used up here anyway. So that would tie in quite nicely, and we'll pick out some of the greens from our broccoli trees and our grass just to cover the foliage down the bottom here, and that'll help keep everything quite cohesive, and the garland won't look too out of place, because really, I mean, it doesn't really fit in with the picture, so to speak. I think it's nice, but it's, if the same flowers had been maybe up here in this grassy part, it would have made a bit more sense, but we can make it fit in. That's that's not a problem. It's also Mr. Jem's birthday coming up. It's not a big birthday, so we are just going to go out for a meal. We're probably going to end up going to the same place that we went to for our wedding anniversary, which is fine. We like going there. The food's really good. Yeah, Mr. Jem's not really one for celebrating birthdays. He doesn't like the idea of getting older, which I find hilarious, because he's been acting like an old man since he was about 25. But he's not big on birthdays, but we thought we would take the opportunity, because we really don't go out much. So we'll just go for a nice meal, that'll be fine. So I asked him what he wanted for his birthday. Again, we don't tend to bother so much at birthdays. We really sort of go all out at Christmas, but it's nice to have a little gift. So I asked Mr. Jem, and he's very practical. It's like, get me things that I need. Don't buy me something frivolous, kind of thing. Ever the practical farmer. Right, okay, hold that thought just now. Let's think about our colours here. So I think for these little spouty ones that we need to think more about the darker colours. So back to the helio turquoise, and also back to this dark indigo as well, at least for the parts, because obviously this is coming out this hole and that's dark in there, so we do want that to be quite dark. So I'm just going to use that flicking motion again, and I'll get down some colour with that. Yeah, so when I asked him, is there anything in particular that you would like, or is there anything that you're running out of, that kind of thing, do you know what his answer was? Pyjama bottoms. And I just looked at it, I was like, all right, Grandad. But he was sorely needing some. I don't know how it happened, but he's got this pair that he wears all the time. They must be his favourite pair, and he'll favour them over any others. And I don't know how he did it, but he just walked into the kitchen one day, and like the whole backside was hanging out them. You know how you used to get those little romper suits for babies with the flaps on the back of them? That's what it looked like, minus the flap. And I said to him, I was like, what happened to your pyjama bottoms? And do you know that way he kind of put his hand down and felt them, and he was like, do you know what, I thought that was a bit drafty when I was walking down the stairs. I was like, I've got no idea how long you've been walking about like that with those pyjamas on. So that was the end of the favourite pyjamas, so I think that's maybe what sparked the request for more pyjamas. So completely and utterly unexciting. Yeah, I said to him, I says, you would think you were like 80 something on your birthday, not 30 something, and he just laughed. So yeah, that's it. So I don't have to do anything imaginative on that front. It's just like, God. Oh, okay, right, I'm going to go back to the light cobalt turquoise now, and I'm just going to build on what we've got here in this centre part, and then I'm going to go in with the indigo. Again, just flicky lines, nothing crazy. Now we're going to have to go very carefully here with our indigo. We don't want to go crazy with it. So I'm going to get a really sharp point of my pencil again. And just little, tiny little flicky strokes here. And maybe one or two down the bottom here as well. Just in these back sections. So we are coming to the end of this series now. Which I'm a wee bit sad about because I really, really like this book. Like I really do. I'm so happy I've got this book. And it was such a nice surprise as well. So I'm wondering where to go next, but this is my thinking, so you can let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, as I'm talking here, I'm just going to jump back and forth between the helio turquoise and the light cobalt turquoise as well, just to build up a little bit of dimension with these areas. Yeah, my thinking now is starting to live stream, and I think I would like to do a little bit of colouring via a live stream. Obviously, when we do that, the video, the live stream will automatically be turned into a video, so even if you miss the live stream, you can still join in and watch it at a later date. But I'm thinking to myself, do we do a full colouring chat series just as a live stream and have it separate from the normal videos? Because there may be people that don't like watching live streams. So do we just have like a specific picture that's only done on live streams and we just carry on and do one in the normal videos as well? Or maybe we could start one on the live stream. I'm not sure, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But one of the things I did think would be good to do on a live stream would be to colour some of Tim Jeff's animals, because number one, they're in grayscale, which is something that people seem to ask about a lot. You know, what are the best techniques, what are the best ways to colour? But also you can finish one of those relatively quickly, and we could finish one of Tim Jeff's pictures within one live stream. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Books that I have sitting that I would like to do some colouring in are the Kerber Rosanna's books. I've got Worlds Within Worlds, which I haven't touched, and I've also got Fragile World as well, which is the most recent one. So if you'd like to see some of those, you can let me know, but I'm really interested to hear whether you think we need a live stream exclusive colour along and then just one that runs on the channel, maybe in a different book, or whether it would be better to start one on the live stream and then carry it on as a series. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. That would be amazing. Okay, so now we're thinking about the water here. Now this is where we can kind of do what we want here, if I'm honest. There's no real rules here. But for me, I think round this edge here, the water's going to be much, much, much darker than it is in this part here. You know, thinking again maybe that, especially round here, that it's most likely that this is going to catch the sun compared to anywhere else in the picture. So again, I'm going to grab this helio turquoise. I'm not going to do anything to this bubble mountain now because that's basically foam, and we're going to get that with a little bit of white gouache once we've finished everything else, the way I did with the Beauty of Horror. So I'm going to I'm going to put almost like a border around this with this helio turquoise, and I'm just going to start in this section here. Bring some of this down around here, like this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the live streams. I've kind of got the technical stuff sorted out, I think. And I'm going to do a little bit of testing, and then I'll be looking for beta testers shortly after that. So I'll make an announcement when I'm ready to do that. And basically the beta testing is just going to be a series of very short streams to make sure that everything's working properly and just see if we come up against any technical issues. And after that, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to launch straight into it. So the format for that is going to be one half of the live stream will be colouring only, and then the other half will be drawing or painting, depending on what we decide we want to do. And that's always open for discussion and open for debate as to what you would like to see. And we need to work out the best time to live stream. I am limited to a degree as to when I can live stream because obviously I have a proper job and living on a farm is not helpful for stuff like that. But we can take that in our stride and see how we go. Righty-ho, I'm going to go with the cobalt turquoise now. So that's the next lightest colour from the helio turquoise. And I'm going to leave a little gap in there between the last colour, because I want to make sure that we've got nice variation here. But these sort of flowing lines, they kind of start to break up around here. So we don't need to put too much emphasis on that, but we will blend this all together. I'll maybe put a few of these in here as well. So I'm just taking like these little squiggly sections, just randomly. and then jump to the cobalt green. So I'm just working my way down the pencils now from darkest to lightest. We can pop some of that in various spots as well. Yeah, so now it's a case of trying to figure out how often we're going to live stream and how that's going to fit into the schedule, you know, in the grand scheme of things in terms of the channel as a whole. And I think that's going to be one of those ones where we just have to try and see what happens and maybe tweak it to suit. Again, you know, I'm not likely to sit and stream for like 5 or 6 hours, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday or anything like that. So it kind of has to work for everyone. And I know I'm never going to get a time that's going to suit everyone to watch because you're all spread out all over the place, you're everywhere. So we just have to try and find what suits us best. Someone did make a good point ages ago though, and I can't remember for the life of me who it was. It was a long time ago. But they said that when I do pick a slot for live streams, it would be good if I swapped between starting with the colouring and then switching to the drawing and then alternating it the next time I do a live stream, just so that maybe people can catch, you know, a little bit of something. Because if I do everything at exactly the same time every time I do a live stream, chances are that people will miss out, depending on what time of day it is, wherever in the world they are. So that's something I would note as well. So if I started with colouring for one live stream, the next live stream I would start with painting or drawing, and then vice versa. I just want to darken down, so I'm going back over the areas that I've already coloured with this pencil. I wanted this front part to be quite delicate because this is quite strong up here. And I do want to give that graduation of the thought that, you know, maybe the sun is hitting some of this. So I'm just going to keep working away at that, but I'm going to go in with the indigo pencil just now, and I'm going to go around this edge here. And maybe just a few lines here and there and blend that in with what's going on there. So yeah, interesting times, but we do need to, I've got a lot of figuring out that I need to do. A lot of figuring out. It'll be interesting to see the tone of the live streams as well. You know, just because well, let's face it, I'm talking to myself here. And although I have no problem with it, it's going to be really nice to interact with people. And I'm quite curious as to see what's going to go on in the chat while I'm colouring. I don't watch very many live streams just for the simple fact that I'm hardly ever around to do it. I tend to catch them after the fact. And a lot of the time I'm not actually paying attention to what goes on in the chat, because when I'm watching these things I'm usually doing something else at the same time, you know, a wee bit of multitasking. So I'm quite curious as to see how that's going to go as well, and just see whether the conversation gets to gutter level quite quickly, or whether it's, you know, a lot of not that there's anything wrong with gutter level conversation, I hasten to add, or whether it's going to revolve a lot around, you know, art supplies and colouring techniques and, you know, that kind of thing. I'm really curious. Or whether you just all get to know each other and, you know, interact with each other. So I'm super looking forward to it. I really am. I think I'll probably be a wee bit nervous the first time we do one. I think that's normal as well. Obviously I don't get nervous doing like filming videos. I'm so used to it. And I never really did get nervous though, to be fair. I have noticed that over the years I make a lot less mistakes when I'm filming now, which I suppose is you would expect, and I'd be pretty worried if I didn't, because I've been doing it for ages now. But yeah, so it's kind of like a bit of a different beast. I think what I want to do as well is, just when I've got this cobalt turquoise in my hand, and at the, you know, all the little areas in between these leaves, I kind of want to be darker, just to really make this kind of like sit forward. Although I want this bottom edge of the water to be quite light, I do think that this should be a bit darker in here. So I'll just work my way around these wee fiddly bits. I'm pressing quite hard in here as well, because I'm not going to go in all these wee pokey bits and keep putting in layer upon layer upon layer. Just lighten my pressure up as I head back up towards the main body of water. Yeah, there we go. That's looking okay. Right, yeah, let's do that. So I was actually having a little, I'm having a little bit of a reorganisation of the cave. I haven't completely finished yet, but it's just because I'm holding quite a lot of shop stock now and I needed space to store it. Before it was just like one little shelf, and I had to kind of reorganise things to accommodate some of the art supplies. So while I was doing that, I thought, well, I might as well sort of reorganise everything as a whole. So I've been sitting reorganising my colouring books on the shelf, and there's so many books that I want to go back to, and there's pages that I want to colour, and I literally just don't have time. So there's a few books there. One of the books I really want to go back to is Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, because I was on this mission with Enchanted Forest. For those of you that aren't in the know, I did that front to back and it took me 5 years because in amongst everything else, but I did complete it. But because of that, I really didn't want to colour in any of Johanna Basford's other books just because, you know, I was in that book of like Long and Weary. And Ivy and Inky Butterfly is a lovely book. Like, I really, really like it. So I'd kind of like to revisit that because I've not done that many pages in it. But I don't know if it's something, again, you know, would that be worthwhile doing? Do people want to see it? I don't really know. There's so many lovely books now as well. I also haven't coloured in any of Hannah Carlson's books or Karolina Kubikowska's books forever. And to be fair, I'm not the biggest fan of the Hannah Carlson books. It's not an art style that appeals to me most of the time. There's an odd picture here and there, but I'm not super excited about it, you know, the way I get excited about Kirby Rosanna's stuff or Tim Jeff's stuff, or, you know, it's just one of those books, and I've got so many of them as well. I think I've got about 5 or 6 of them, and I like to colour an odd picture here and there, but yeah. I've got Drawman Vanguard as well, but those pictures take ages because there's so much detail in them. So many exciting books. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the light cobalt turquoise. I'm just going to start to blend out all these different colours that I've been messing about with and join this up with what's going down here. I'm going to leave a few pale patches, so that would just be, you know, like the one initial layer of pencil that we put down. But I do want to try and blend together some of my patches of colour here. And this just takes time, a little bit of patience. And I feel as if I want more colour here, there's not enough. So I'm going to put down a couple of layers of this in some of these spots here. Because I'm thinking about our swans as well. I'm assuming they are swans. They look like swans. So they're going to be primarily white. So we do want them to stand out, you know, against this background. I'm going to start adding in some darker areas now. So I'm back with this helio turquoise. And I want to have almost like a gradient from dark to light here. So there's some areas here that I just want to make a bit more prominent. Again, just using really light strokes. You don't want any really defined pencil lines here because we want to keep that watery feeling. We'll go very, very easy with the indigo here. Just give it a tickle. I was kindly informed on Saturday as well that it's only 16 weeks till Christmas. I don't know whether to be happy or really, really worried about that. Okay, back to cobalt green. Because I have noticed just recently, although it's still been quite warm here, and I know that's been the case for a lot of people, we are into September now, and we are limited on the number of weeks where we can do things outside. We are still renovating our house. We're going to be renovating it for the next century, the way things are going. But we'd kind of shifted to outside jobs, you know, while the weather was good, and we've done quite a bit in the garden. The garden's looking a lot tidier. It is still not anything spectacular, and it probably never will be because I'm not that green fingered, but the place is looking a lot more respectable. But we are running out of time for, you know, before the weather starts to get incredibly autumnal, which for us means a lot of rain. So we're just kind of like trying to plod on and do as much as we can there, but very soon my focus will switch back to the inside of the house. And my plan, she says optimistically, is to get the downstairs finished probably not before Christmas. I think that's very, very ambitious, but by early next year I would like to have the downstairs completed, and then we can move on up and start working on the upstairs, because we've done nothing upstairs and there's major work to go on. We're actually moving the main bathroom upstairs, which is going to be a disaster because this house is old, and it's one of those ones where every time you like fix something or move something, it unearths something else and you're like, oh my dear lord. So some of you may remember, if you were around just after we moved, we had a leak in our ensuite shower, and that is basically comes into the cave. It's like right next door, and I'm not convinced that that's not still leaking, so the whole ceiling's got to come down again. We've already had it replastered, so I'm not optimistic, guys. I'm really not. But I feel like it's nice to see the garden having come on, but I'm kind of getting tetchy that nothing's been done in the house. Still patches of bare plaster everywhere, and the mystery of our leaking sunroom roof, that's the other thing. We've had the roofer come at least 3 times And he's like, I'm sure I've fixed it. You know, I can't see anything, I can't find anything. And then we end up with a swimming pool instead of a sunroom. So it's, yeah, it's not ideal. Okay, I'm just going to, I'm going to take this light cobalt turquoise now. So that's my latest colour. And I'm just going to go back over everything in this sort of bottom part here. So it's equally nice and frustrating at the same time. Because everyone that comes to see us now that we're allowed to have people regularly in the house, people haven't been for a long time. And they're like, oh, no, but we really see a difference. Like, we can see how much work you've done. But it feels so slow. Like, so slow. So again, I think it's probably going to take us about a year to do the upstairs from, you know, whenever it is we start. But we'll get all the heavy, crazy stuff done first. I say we're going to swap one of the bedrooms and the bathrooms round. Just because it's a silly layout. The house originally was a standalone square farmhouse building, and it's been extended over the years by various occupants. So the house is a really funny shape now, and you know, things didn't necessarily have a purpose. Because when this house was built, I would imagine it would have had an inside water closet, so it would have had a toilet upstairs, but it's open fires everywhere, so for the likes of bathing and things, it would have been tin baths in front of the fire. You know, there would have been no bathroom, so to speak. So when the bathroom was added on upstairs, it was almost like an afterthought, and it's far too small. And for the size of the house, it's ridiculous that that's the main bathroom. So that, you know, that has to change. It has to change, especially when we've got people staying. I did have friends staying not that long ago, and it was 3 girls. And basically there was a queue for the shower every morning because the only shower that we have is the one that's in our ensuite. So we were having to wait for Mr. Jem to get out of bed, and then you had a queue of 5 people waiting for a shower. And saying a house this size, there's no need for it. It's ridiculous. So we are going to try and remedy that. But yeah, that's going to be messy. Knocking some walls down, can't wait. Can't wait for all the dust. I don't know how I'm feeling about this. I think I want some more mid-blues in here and possibly some indigo. So I'm going to take the cobalt turquoise and just add in a little bit of something here and there. And I think with the helio turquoise, I am specifically going to go round the sections that the swans are, where the swans are sitting in the water, almost like a shadow. And it's just to help them stand out. Maybe add in a little bit of indigo here and there. And then just using one of, this is the cobalt green. Yeah, the cobalt green. Maybe add in a little bit more round there as well. And then maybe the cobalt turquoise in this one. So you can see I'm trying to sort of highlight the swans, but I don't want it to be really uniform and, you know, all the same, the same colour all the way around every single one. So I'm just kind of picking and choosing between these, the 3 darker pencils that we've got. And then round the lily pads, I'm going to use the indigo pencil here. So I'm going to go in between the leaves. Again, really sharp point, like really pointy point for this. And with like a teeny tiny scumbling motion, I'm just going to put an outline round all of the bottom parts of these. So just round the leaves. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so when we see the bigger picture now, you can see that we've got that nice feeling of this is all in the shadows away at the back, and then when we come down here to the front, it's like, ah, beautiful. I do feel like these side areas could be darker though, like we could accentuate that a lot more. So again, I can just go back with my darkest colours. So the helio turquoise, the cobalt turquoise and the indigo, just those 3. And I can maybe add in a bit more around the sides here. And the same over this side as well. There we go, I'm a bit happier with that. Okay guys, I am going to leave it there for today. Our picture is nearly complete. So I have a feeling that the next video is going to be the last video. And that will be on Sunday of this week. And we'll get this page finished up and all done and dusted. So I hope you'll be able to join me then. And I hope you've enjoyed our little jaunt, if a slightly shorter jaunt out today in this colouring book. I'm going to be sad to come to the end of this page, but all good things must come to an end. I'll see you on Thursday for another video. And all I ask is that you please stay safe and take care of each other. And I'll see you back in the cave on Thursday. Have a great day everyone, and bye bye for now.